Hey everyone, welcome back to Hot Route Takes. I'm your host Chase Owens with my good buddies and co-hosts Brian Sarver and Christian Mills. This is the NFL Week 15, I believe, preview.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Old time, old schedule in a 16 game league year. We'd be just 3 weeks away, but obviously it goes all the way to week 18 it's now. So we're in the home stretch, the final quarter of games. Every team has played 13 games so far, leaving just 4 remaining on the schedule for every team in the NFL. Week 14 was a great week of NFL football, and we have 3 primetime games to recap quickly for you guys before we get into our week 15 game picks. The first was the Sunday night football game, and wow, statement win. We've been preaching all season long. The Dallas Cowboys desperately need a statement win, and boy, did they ever produce one Sunday night. A 33-13 final, moving both teams, the Eagles and the Cowboys, to 10-3, although Philly does have the inside track because if they win out, they will win the NFC East. But Dallas right there for the 1 seed in the NFC now, if Philly is to slip and fall, or San Fran for that matter, since they lost to San Fran head-to-head. But speaking of this game, man, Dallas, a few things stand out. Each side of the ball producing for me, Micah Parsons and playmakers on the defense. And you get over to a guy we're going to talk about in our next podcast, Dak Prescott. Another sound day. 271 yards and 2 touchdowns. Got the ball to Jake Ferguson a good bit down the field. He had a day. And Dallas's kicker, man, 30 straight makes to start his career, and he made 2 59-plus yard field goals. That is a weapon, and that's something they've obviously been desperately needing, given Brett Maher's performance in the playoffs last year and the year before it may have been, but they've always lacked a kicker, it seems like, and they have found one in spades and this guy, and just a complete dominant win for Dallas Sunday night. So I'll let both of you guys touch on what you saw from both Dallas and the Eagles that led this game to go the way it did.
Just credit to Dak Prescott continuing his MVP campaign. I thought he played very well in this game and showcased a lot of the things that people have questions about with Dak Prescott. How can he do when pressure gets after him in a big game? And I think he responded well and he played a good game. He was only sacked 3 times, and the rushing game got going a little bit here. It was kind of a by committee approach with Tony Pollard, and shout out to Rico Dowdle, played against him in high school one time, getting 12 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown. So I just think that's pretty cool. But the Eagles, man, just offense is continuing to struggle.
Yeah, for me, just Philly's big takeaway for me is just the running game is not what it once was. I just think they have to go back to at least that part of what they were last season to be what we expect them to be at this point. If their running game's like what we've seen, 11 carries for 39 yards. I think Jalen Hurts had 5 rushes for 30. So, I think their big takeaway is they're not as deadly as they were unless it's running games going. And then for Dallas, I just think, they're getting multiple people in the running game now. Ferguson seemed like he's found himself at what we always get out of Dallas, a good tight end coming out of nowhere, making a name. And CeeDee Lamb, yes, he didn't have a big game, I guess you can say, but he did have the 1 tutty, 71 yards. He made his impact felt.
For sure. Big win, as I said. Dallas moving themselves right in that upper echelon as we thought they were. They were talented enough to be, and finally getting that big win to put them there record-wise with both Philadelphia and San Francisco now all sitting at 10-3 in the NFC. Moving on to Monday night, we had 2 Monday night football games, both of which, Brian, obviously bitter games for you guys. The first is your Dolphins suffering a 28-27 loss at home against the Tennessee Titans, who moved to 5-8 on the year. Obviously a big upset in that one. Seemed you guys had the game at hand, move ahead 27-13 after a late turnover from Tennessee, put a touchdown on the board. Then Tennessee gets the ball, quickly goes down and scores, goes for the analytical play, gets a 2-point conversion to make it a 6-point deficit, gets the ball back after a 3-and-out, go down, score again, and Tua has a chance to win the game with a minute plus and get him in field goal range, but the Dolphins ends up being sacked on 4th down. So that was the ball game. A tough pill to swallow for your Dolphins, who dropped to 9-4. But I will say everything's still in front of them. They win out, they will have home field. The AFC is the one seed still up for grabs by all means. So not a crushing defeat, but obviously one you're a little upset about. So Brian, I'll let you touch on what you saw from your Dolphins on Monday night.
First off, I want to just say credit to Tennessee's coaching staff and Vrabel and company because they put together an excellent game plan on defense to kind of slow down this Miami offense. Obviously, injuries were a big part of this game for Miami. You got to have that next man up mentality, but when you lose your left tackle, left guard, center, and right guard, and you're forced to play without your best receiver, and that obviously will throw off a lot of the timing, especially when the center goes out, and that's going to be something Miami's going to have to work around because Connor Williams is out for the rest of the year, and he's one of the best centers in the NFL. So that's really going to change some things and how Miami attacks the running game and how they can pass block up front because this interior trio is just not good enough right now, especially without Rob Hunt as well. We'll see what happens as far as that goes. But in this football game, Tennessee was able to get after him. Tua was sacked 5 times, and when he wasn't sacked, he was making guys miss within the pocket, extending, creating outside of structure, which isn't really his game. But just I think the play calling wasn't particularly the best in this game. Also, don't think Tua necessarily played his best game, although I think he's getting a lot more hate than he is deserving of because I think he played pretty well. Just certain stretches, certain decisions weren't great. You never want to take a sack on 4th down. You got to throw it up. You got to make something. You got to give your guys a chance. He didn't do that. But just DeAndre Hopkins had a big game. We really couldn't stop him. I don't know what the secret sauce is with that, but I know losing Javon Holland and then later Deshaun Elliott having 2 backup safeties in and a primarily safety-oriented system and Vic Fangio's defense. So, man, tough loss. Hope Miami rebounds. The injuries are starting to pile up a little bit. But, man, you got to win that game. That's not one you can lose.
Christian, what'd you see from Tennessee? Will Levis and D-Hop, as Brian touched on, they had a pretty sound night in that comeback.
Yeah, my big takeaway is, Miami did take away Derrick Henry. He did have the 2 touchdowns, but he really couldn't get him going, I guess, until the red zone. That's really when they used him. But out of Will Levis, he did have the 1 pick. But I look at this game, and this is where he stamped himself to me as a franchise guy, for them at least moving forward. He had the connection with DeAndre Hopkins. His defense has been talked about a top unit. And I think, a Tennessee team a lot of people didn't see overcoming definitely their miscues. And then coming back and winning, I think that says a lot about Will Levis and, like Brian said, this coaching staff. And then I just think, Tajee Spears adds a lot to that running back room, and we got to see it against Miami when he got into the passing game. It really opened up a lot. I think for maybe, a Nick Westbrook, Okanu, the tight end. So I think getting all those guys involved shows Will Levis is not so demanding on one guy to be his guy, but spread the ball around. So that's my big takeaway for them, is just Will Levis and what he is moving forward for them. But the Dolphins, man, I understand what Brian is saying, but you have 14 points ahead, 3 minutes left, and I understand your offense isn't all there, but your defense is, and that's my only big thing about Miami I can say. At 2 safeties, dog, 2. That's it. That's all you're missing.
We missing a linebacker, an edge rusher, a nickel. That's
I hear
a lot.
you, but DeAndre Hopkins is getting covered by your number 1 corner. DeAndre Hopkins was covered by your guy that y'all had on him. Ramsey didn't want none, so X was over there. Ramsey didn't want none. He hit on the base side. They don't travel. X was on him all night. That's all I'm going to say. So just Miami's defense, like, I said a couple pods ago, not a fan of the unit. It seems like Tennessee seen something that they seen that they wanted to pick on, and DeAndre Hopkins was the one picking.
He had a vintage D-Hop day for sure. He led them to that comeback, and credit to Will Levis for orchestrating that. Maybe he is something Tennessee can build around and get more talent. That remains to be seen, of course. So the last Monday night game we'll quickly get to here, guys, is the Green Bay Packers falling on the road to the New York Giants to drop Green Bay to 6-7. New York moves to 5-8. Guys, just when we thought Green Bay was ascending and looking like they can pretty much stamp themselves as a wild card team for sure in the NFC, if not overtake the Lions perhaps, really shot themselves in the foot in this one. Not much offense to speak of either way. 326 yards for Green Bay, 367 total for New York. 3 turnovers for Green Bay compared to New York's 2. And in the end, it was a walk-off field goal for the Giants that pushed them over the top. Disappointing loss for Green Bay, to say the least. What did you guys see from this game?
Good game by Saquon Barkley. The Giants got the ground game going, played just a complimentary effort on offense, and then Jordan Love just made a mistake. He kind of was slow out the gate, but I still believe in the guy. I think that the offense is still young. I think you're going to have some games like this, but ideally you would expect them to beat this New York Giants team that's kind of lowly. But I will say DeVito has given them life. This probably the most life we've seen this season has been under DeVito, not Daniel Jones, not Tyrod Taylor. It's been third string undrafted quarterback. So credit to DeVito, credit to this Giants team, and Green Bay's got to get back on track. You stole a couple games, and now you drop one you probably should have won.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about the Giants, but on the Green Bay side of things, I don't know if you can say it's Jordan Love maybe, but the play calling maybe I would say, but during the red zone, it looked bad. I mean, it was sloppy. They took a lot of field goals this game when you would think Jordan Love and them could go on into the end zone. It just didn't happen. A lot of drop balls also. So I'm not going to put so much of the blame on Jordan Love. It's kind of like Brian says, young team, a lot of drops, and at the end of the day, I think it bits you, and that's how you lose this game. It's just you can't finish those drives. So I think moving forward, you maybe want to see what you can do in the red zone other than what they did against this Giants team. I will say the Giants defense, I mean, they're not I'm going to say a great unit, but they are a better unit than maybe some people give them credit for.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there, Christian. And really, the last 3 weeks for the Packers, the NFL in a nutshell, really, you win 2 games you're not necessarily, quote unquote, supposed to win against the Lions and the Chiefs, and then you drop one against the Giants, team you're supposed to beat. That's just the way NFL works sometimes, especially with young teams, as Brian has pointed out. So moving along, that's it for NFL Week 14. It was a great week, but we got NFL Week 15 to get to in our game picks here. Quickly, I haven't gave a pick update in the standings in quite a while, and Brian, probably for good reason, Brian seems like he's trying to run away with it on us. He's sitting at 127 and 81 in first place, 91st percentile in terms of picks. And I'm in second with a 121 and 87 record. Christian, you are trailing at a 116 and 92 record. So still time to catch up with Brian here, but he's having some good weeks back to back. We'll see if he can do it again in Week 15. It starts with the Chargers, Christian's Chargers on Thursday Night Football, traveling to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Both teams sit at 5-8. The news in this one, Justin Herbert will be out. He is actually out the remainder of the year because of that finger injury. Probably was best. Christian's, I'll talk on it a little bit here, but for the Chargers, securing draft position really seems like the ultimate goal for this team to try and get some just young blood and fresh talent into this organization. I think they wouldn't mind losing this game, and honestly, because of that, I'm going to pick the Raiders. I think they've been playing sound defense. If they can get anything from a ground attack, which the Chargers have been susceptible to, I think they'll pull this game out, and Vegas will get their 6th win of the year.
Yeah, I went with the Raiders as well. A large part of it is Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen not playing, but also just Staley. I think Herbert has willed this team to stay in games and win games, but with Staley, no Herbert, I'm going to go with the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did go back and forth to Josh Jacobs is also out for the Raider side of things. I know White will be the leading back, but I'll also look at Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. I give him a little bit more credit than people do. That's a great wide receiver for a number 2. So I just think at the end of the day, with like Brian said, no Keenan Allen, no Justin Herbert. I picked the Raiders. I just think they're going to have too much, definitely on offense with Devontae Adams. I expect him to have a field day against this Chargers defense.
All of us on Vegas there. Then we get to Saturday. Not very often Saturday football for the NFL, but with college football ending in terms of regular season action, this one they tend to pick up the Saturday slate of games. And in Week 15, they have 3 separate Saturday games, so you'll have NFL football to watch all weekend long. The first is the 1 o'clock game between the 7-6 Minnesota Vikings traveling to Cincinnati to take on the 7-6 Bengals. Both teams coming off wins last week, albeit very different fashions. Minnesota, a 3-0 win over Vegas, whereas Cincinnati really blew the doors off the Colts at home. And just jumping off of that performance and last week, Jake Browning looking very efficient in his last outing. Cincinnati's defense hasn't really been getting enough love, and I think when they're healthy, with the pass rusher like Hendrickson and the secondary guys they have, I think it's a sound unit, a unit good enough to beat whoever Minnesota starts at quarterback. I don't know if that's a controversy or a starter's been named yet, but either got to go. I don't really care. I'm going to take Cincinnati to get the home win and move to 8 wins on the season.
I think they announced that Nick Mullins is going to start in this game, and for all the hate, quote unquote hate, I've been given to Josh Dobbs, I do think he's a better quarterback here. I don't think Nick Mullins really offers you a whole lot, and with a guy like Nick Mullins, you're going to be leaning on the running game and try to work off of that. And the Vikings have struggled a lot this year at running the ball. I know they've had spurts where they've ran it well, but in general they have not. And the Cincinnati front is still good. And I expect them to get after him, and Jake Browning just continue to play efficient football, get the ball where it's designed to go, and we'll go with the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, Joshua Dobbs not starting, that really just sold me on Cincinnati even more. And then what we've kind of seen out of Browning these last couple of weeks, he's really impressed me a lot. And, normally when we see Joe Burrow not the starter in Cincinnati, it normally does not go well. But it seemed like since he's took over, it's really helped this team elevate to, I ain't going to say another level, but, I mean, you could argue maybe this team's looking better with him than what they look kind of with Joe Burrow at parts of this season. So with that being said, I went Cincinnati.
Okay, all of us on the Bengals there. Not really a shocker after last week's performance. Next up in the Saturday slate of games is the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Indy to take on the Colts. Pittsburgh struggling, obviously, last Thursday with the Pats, dropping that one at home. Really uncalled for. If they're hopeful to be a playoff team, they got to win that game, whereas the Colts got dominated by the Bengals. So neither team coming off their best performance of the year for sure. And I had a tough time, flip back and forth between this one, but ultimately, I actually went with the Steelers. I think the extra days off to prepare for this Colts team will help them for sure. And just seems like a game they have to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. And for whatever reason, I think Mike Tomlin will get the most out of his guys, as he tends to do, and find a way to win this football game, even though they actually may be outmatched in terms of talent. The Colts are no slouch by no means, but I'm going to take the Steelers in a close one.
Yeah, these two teams are very much similar teams in the way that they try to play and the play style that they have. And like you had hit on, Chase, I think that the Steelers have a little bit more time to prepare. And Jonathan Taylor not being 100% isn't ideal for this game. I think what the Colts are wanting to do on offense fits well with what the Steelers can do to combat that. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh here. I don't love their offense. I've said that plenty of times, but I think that they can squeak out a close one. Good coaching. They've been doing it all year. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
I actually went with the Colts. I think this defense did have a rough week last week, but against the Steelers offense, it does not impress me at all that much. And then I believe Mitch is starting this. I know he is. Mitch is starting this week again, and that just makes me not want to pick them even more knowing that. So I know the running game hasn't been going that well for the Colts, but that passing game, it has gotten better and better, it seems, as we're getting further along in the season. And I just see the Colts being able to put up more points, maybe offensively, but I think it will be a defensive battle. But I just see the Colts definitely having more home run plays than what the Steelers can get.
Fair enough. Last one here on the Saturday night game is the Detroit Lions sitting at 9-4. They'll be hosting the 7-6 Denver Broncos. Denver, one of those teams right in the AFC wildcard mix. So a win here would do wonders for that their hopes and their playoff hopes. Detroit, they have a 3-game lead on the Packers in that, or actually 2-game lead on the Vikings in that division. So staying ahead of the pack in that division, but the play in recent weeks has worried all of us, especially on the defensive side. That said, I think they'll cook up something and they'll play good football for Dan Campbell at home on prime time. And Denver's offense just hasn't done enough schematically, and Russ especially. I think he's playing fine, but I just need more. And when Detroit's facing a mobile quarterback, a guy that can beat you off script that Brian's touched on plenty of times, that's when they struggle. But Russell Wilson, you kind of know what you're going to get. You know Denver's going to go ground heavy. And I think Detroit will outplay them in their own style. I think Detroit will get a lead, get the ground game going. Defense will play with a lead, play a little better with their head on fire, get after the quarterback when they know the team's going to be passing. So for that reason, I'm taking the Lions to win home game in prime time.
You almost took the words out of my mouth, Chase. That's pretty much what I was going to get at. I went with Detroit here. I just think that they both play very similar styles of play. I think that if there is a weakness on the Broncos defense still, it's the edge rushing, or the edges as far as run defense is concerned. And I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is poised to have a breakout game here. I think he got a big game in this football game. And, Russell Wilson, he's had some stretches of magic. And I think he could have some of that in this game. This game could be real close. But I am going to err towards Detroit.
I actually did go back and forth. I think people hasn't realized, and maybe y'all really hadn't paid much attention, but Denver's only one game behind KC for the division. So I think, that may have a little bit more weight on this game, but I just don't think Sean Payton and this Denver's team's there yet to beat this Detroit team. But if KC drops this week also, and Denver maybe comes out and being on the upset, it'd be a tie division. So I just think looking forward, Denver might be a team we might need to pay a little extra attention to, definitely if they do have an upset. But I'm going with the Lions. I just think there's too much of the running game maybe for them. I'm going to preach that running game until I get shown otherwise. Yes, they have some bumpy games, but I kind of sit with Brian. I think Gibbs is just going to have a field day against this Denver team.
I think the more we learn about Detroit, they're kind of remind me of the older Ravens teams, like rookie year Lamar Jackson, to where they really need to play with a lead and be able to lean on an effective ground game and defense to pin their ears back and play with a lead and get after the passer. That's when they're at their best. When Jared Goff's forced to come from behind, he has weapons, and I'm on St. Brown and Sam Laporta, but you really got to scheme stuff up beautifully to make that a thing. So that's our thought process on the Lions really all year, and we're all on the same page for Saturday night against Denver. So moving on to Sunday, we've got some good games to look and pick from here. The first one starts with the Chicago Bears traveling to the Cleveland Browns. Chicago all the way up to 5 wins on the year, 8 losses. When you flip the script, Cleveland's sitting at 8 wins, 5 losses. So I think Cleveland's played some of their best ball with Joe Flacco at quarterback. All things trending up, all these great things. And you know what? I'm actually picking Chicago. It's maybe my upset of the week. I don't know if anyone else is going to be on board here, but quietly, the Bears have been very good defensively. Like, not middle of the road, like very good. Yes, since the Sweat acquisition. And Tremaine Edmonds is a great linebacker. The secondary's playing better. They're just a great unit so far in these last 5-6 weeks. I think they'll make Joe Flacco have to beat them in ways he don't want to. And I think that bodes well for them. I think Justin Fields can cook up enough things on the offensive side of the ball with DJ Moore, and the Bears can get a road victory and upset the Browns.
Yeah, so I picked the Bears as well. I think we're tit for tat all the way through this, Chase. And
Wow.
However, here's one stat for you. Justin Fields has the highest time to throw, and he basically has since he came into the league. It's kind of been his Achilles heel, if you will, is holding on to the ball too long. But I think against this Cleveland front, that could get him into some trouble. But I also was going to mention the Bears defense, like you had just said. The Bears defense has been playing phenomenal. I think Fields, given his weaknesses and everything like that, has shown he has big play potential. And I think that they can still win in a game they probably should not win against a pretty good Cleveland team. Flacco and company, I think this could be a game where he falls back down to earth a little bit. We'll see. I'm going to go Chicago.
Jesus. So, listen, boys. What is it with the Cleveland hate? I just, it blows my mind. Last week I picked them against Jacksonville. Guess what? I was right. So this week, I'm definitely picking them over a Chicago Bears team led by Justin Fields for being a great unit in the defense. And I just think, we've seen what Joe Flacco's doing right now. I understand he is an older vet, but I think with that being said, this defense is going to think they're going to have some easy pick-ems, and the vet's going to be a vet out there and not make them mistakes that I think Justin Fields will ultimately make on the other side of the ball. So I just
Like
think
Watson
Cleveland's
would've made.
defense. Okay, if Watson was in this game, I'd still pick Cleveland and feel comfortable with picking that. So I just think, with Deshaun, without Deshaun, Cleveland. The defense is too good. Justin Fields is going to look like we have seen him in the past. I understand the stats look better now, but heck, it wouldn't surprise me if he was back injured. Hope not. But, he gets injured a lot. So I just think Cleveland's defense is going to be too much for Chicago to hang on to.
I won't deny I definitely feel this as an upset pick for me, but I'm kind of with Brian's thinking where I just think Chicago's defense has been playing so well, and this just feels like a game. Joe Flacco's getting a lot of love league-wide.
Yeah.
He was out the league. He wasn't starting for a reason, guys. Like, he's still not and you're talking to, obviously, a guy who loves the man. He got me a Super Bowl in 2012. He's just old and he can't move. And if Sweat gets back there, I see it to be trouble. But maybe this one turns into a defensive game. It's got all the makings for it, really, and turns into one of the better 1 o'clock window games. Moving along, we get to the Atlanta Falcons, sitting at 6-7. Their NFC South matchup with the Carolina Panthers. They'll be traveling to Bank of America Stadium to take on the Panthers. And, man, Panthers offense is just one of the toughest watches in all of football week to week. I don't think much changes here. Jesse Bates picked off Bryce Young twice in week 1. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get another this week. And Atlanta's secondary just have a good day against this slowly receiving unit for the Panthers. So I don't see this one being particularly close. I'm going to take the Falcons in multiple score win here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Falcons as well. I think they've had the best run defense of maybe their second or third now, but I know that they're near the top of the league in their run defense, which does not bode well for Carolina, who has been leaning on that just so they have a chance to convert the third down. I think they're going to have a lot of third and longs in this game, and Bryce Young's going to have a rough day.
Yeah, on the Atlanta side of thing, I did see today, I don't know how true it is, but Arthur Smith also does look like he'll be the head coach next year, so take that how you want to. But I think this would be a game maybe Bijan can get, the touches that Brian's been preaching about, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does not get those touches. But I figure Atlanta wins either way, but this is your time, Arthur Smith. Give Bijan the ball.
Yes, and we say it week to week, don't we? And that's why we do that decision to keep him around. But who knows? Falcons 6-7, first in the NFC South. They can very much still win this division despite Bijan not getting the touches we think he deserves. So next up, the other 6-7, or there's 2 other 6-7 South teams, but this next one is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are coming off that victory in Atlanta last week. They'll be traveling to Green Bay to take on the 6-7 Packers, who just dropped that Monday night game to the New York Giants that we talked on earlier in the pod. I think this is a pretty evenly contested matchup. Right now, I know last week was last week, but I still think Jordan Love is playing slightly better football. If Mike Evans has a day, I think Tampa can pull this out, but I think Green Bay has the recipe to shut that down, or at least limit it to what they need to. And Rashawn Gary can get after the passer, have himself a day, and I'm going to take the Packers in a close game to win this one at home.
Yeah, I went with the Packers as well. I think Jordan Love has been under scrutiny a little bit this week, and I don't know if it's quite deserving. Like I touched on in the recap of the game earlier, I just think it's a young team, man. You're going to see ups, you're going to see downs. I think if he had a Mike Evans, things would look a little different here. So I did almost pick Tampa Bay, but I did ultimately side with Green Bay, and I'm going to pick Jordan Love, man. Again, I'm going to keep riding the train. Love continues to spread the love on offense, and Tampa Bay's defense, they've had moments this year, but I don't think they've necessarily lived up to the hype that they had in the preseason.
All right, guys. Well, it just seems like I'm going to be on the winning side a lot this week because I went with Tampa Bay. They have first place now in their division. They know Atlanta's going to Carolina, and we just talked about that game, and I think Tampa Bay knows they have to win this game to keep first place, and I think they know how hard they work to get to there at this point. So I just think we've seen what Barkley did against Green Bay, and White's been, I think, better than definitely Barkley has been this year. So I think they're going to get White involved a lot in this game. No, you can shake your head all you want. Stats back it up. Man, I understand who's the better player, but this year, White has played better than Barkley. So I just think, Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans will get going this game. Mike Evans had a off game last week, so I just don't see him going back-to-back weeks, not getting his touches that he's been wanting. So I just see the Packers defense kind of being a letdown like they were against this Giants team. And now you're telling me that Tampa's coming into town. So I just think what I've seen out of just Mike Evans and Baker seem to get improve this season at least. I'm just, instead of spreading the love, I'm going to keep letting Baker cook on up.
I like it. A lot of disagreement here in this pod so far. Obviously, these games are pretty split. Not many one-sided matchups. We'll get to a couple later on, but this next one you could argue is split, especially given the Titans' performance on Monday Night Football. They will be hosting the now 7-6 Houston Texans. Have either of you guys saw the status of C.J. Stroud? Is he playing in this one? I would hope so, right? I know it's concussion protocol, but
they normally miss the next game after entering concussion protocol, and it's kind of up in the air. A few players did get through concussion protocol and play within the same week, but I think it's reasonably uncertain right now. I don't think you can go either way. So
okay. Well, my pick hinges on C.J. Stroud playing. I'll say that much because I don't discredit Tennessee. I think Houston has been playing better football, but C.J. Stroud's that difference maker. He plays, he will be the best player in this game by a landslide. When you take him off the field, the team's obviously a lot more closely contested. So I'm going to take Houston on record. That's assuming C.J. Stroud plays, but obviously I can flip if he is ruled out.
Yeah, I went with Tennessee. I think this is a good opportunity for Tennessee to build on what they did previous week. I liked a lot of the things I saw schematically, and believe it or not, the Texans and C.J. Stroud actually attack a lot of the same areas of the field that Miami does, particularly over the middle of the field with anticipatory shots. And C.J. Stroud has a similar play style to Tua Tagovailoa, and I think this could be a game where the Tennessee defense shows up again, and the DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry, they can score enough points to win the game. I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing is I'm thinking about Tank Dell not being no longer on Houston. Nico Collins, I don't know what his update is. Do y'all know about his status or not really?
I saw questionable. I'm not sure, though.
Yeah,
I'm not sure either.
in other words, I mean, even with Nico, I just feel like Tennessee, what they did last week against Miami, they're going to be on a high, I think another level. I just think with that, we've seen their defense really step it up. Like Brian said, if they're going to try to run pretty much, I ain't going to say the same thing, but hit the same areas of the fields, I think that Tennessee can just build upon what they did last week and have another great week and get a big division win against Tennessee. And, I mean, the next couple of weeks, maybe if the Colts and Houston start dropping, I mean, Tennessee can slowly start raising up and at least get second in this division.
Yeah. I feel you there, Christian. Next up, Brian, you got your Dolphins hoping to bounce back at home against the New York Jets, who are now sit at 5-8. Honestly, I'd say the Jets had the best defensive performance last week. I know that Vegas had a shutout, but that was against Minnesota. The Jets doing what they did against Houston, I thought was very much respected and shows what that defense is and how great talented it is, especially in coverage. Obviously, it can be a tough matchup for Tua, but when you flip to the other side of the ball, I know Zach Wilson had a good week last week. Just we've never seen him string consecutive performances week in, week out of like, okay, this guy's a good quarterback. I don't see that happening against Miami. I think Miami's got sour taste. Obviously, the way that Monday night game ended, I think Tua will be on his A game and he'll put together a great performance and get Miami to 10 wins on the year.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This one makes me nervous because the interior trio of Miami's offensive line being hurt and Tyreek Hill being a little banged up. I think that Quentin Williams could have a game here, and he's a true game wrecker if there is one in the league.
Yes.
I'm going to say Miami here, and the reason why is because this rushing attack has been solid all year long. I expect it to continue to be good, and I expect this secondary to just put clamps on these New York Jets receivers.
Brian. Man. I did go back and forth with this game, and I think my biggest thing that kind of pushes me to go with the Jets is what Brian finished his statement with is he believes this pressure to be put on. But I think since Phillips has been hurt, I mean, last week they only had 1 sack against Tennessee. 1. And, I mean, Tennessee's been known to let Will Levis get killed. So, I mean, my biggest thing is I think Zach Wilson, maybe you can say turnover a leaf last week. I do have to see another week out of him. But if there's any defense that can copy and paste what Tennessee did, I'm picking the Jets. I think they can take what Tennessee did, add their flair to it, and this defense be really scary against y'all. So I think with that being said, I mean, I'm going with the Jets. I just think maybe y'all are going to be hung up on that loss a little bit more than what you're thinking y'all will be, and you're telling me you're missing 3 offensive linemen, guys, and you're playing the Jets. I mean, really, 4 offensive linemen, guys. I'm taking the Jets easily, knowing that you're 4 guys short on the offensive line. So I think the Jets are going to have a field day. Tua better get ready because it seems like he's going to be eating a lot of dirt.
Oh. All right, man. We're differing a lot. Obviously, unfortunately, this time of year, the injuries Brian is talking on, they're piling up for every team. So it's hard to pick some of these matchups because you don't know what guys are going to be playing day of game day. A lot of guys questionable. Everyone's hurt this time of year. It's a matter of how hurt you are. Next up, really something that you can speak to a little bit for each of these teams. The New York Giants traveling to the 6-7 Saints. I know New York put together a pretty impressive performance on Monday, especially the defense against Jordan Love. But the Saints they feel like a 500 team in all of the making, or every sense of the word. And I think they'll be a lesser team to get to 500. Would not be shocked to see this team finish at 8-9, 9-8, and first or second in the South. That's just the way this division's heading. And I think a win Sunday will play into that. So give me the Saints at home.
I went with the Giants here. Just Derek Carr or whoever's at quarterback for the Saints is just entirely too inconsistent. I don't want to say that I'd pick Tommy DeVito over Carr, but I mean, he's been more consistent, if you can say that, at the very least. And then the rushing attack, something for him to lean on. I don't love it, but I'm going to go with the Giants here in an upset.
I do love it. I got the Giants also. I think just Derek Carr's been coming out saying that he's been having multiple injuries this year, keeping it under the radar. I know he had a couple rib injuries he's talked about now. And with that being said, I honestly don't think he's at 100% now. So I just think Derek Carr and them had an easy game last week against the Panthers. And I just think this Giants team is having a new flair to them, if you will say, since DeVito took over. And I'm just really liking what the Giants are doing right now and just the energy they're bringing every week now that DeVito's took over. I went with the Giants on, I think, a close game. And I think it's really going to be an Alvin Kamara and Barkley battle to really, whoever running back maybe produce the most, that'd be the team that ultimately wins this game.
I see both you guys' reasoning for that. I'm going to come down to those running backs and which defense plays better for sure, because the quarterback play on both teams have been lackluster to say the least. But last 1 o'clock matchup, guys. If you've got an upset of the week, this would definitely qualify. If you're bold enough to take the 3-10 New England Patriots, coming off a win, mind you, coming off a win against the Steelers on Thursday Night Football, they'll be hosting the 8-5 Kansas City Chiefs. I think this has all the makings of a huge blowout for the Chiefs. They're obviously pissed off the way that game ended against Buffalo Sunday. Patrick Mahomes will be fired up. Patriots suck, for lack of a better word. And it's a 1 o'clock game. They probably don't want to be out there in New England at 1 o'clock in the cold getting their butts whooped. So I'm going to take the Chiefs in a big, big win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I went with the Chiefs, and it's more so just New England. I just can't get behind what they have definitely at the quarterback position, but I'd like to see KC win because I don't want to see Patrick Mahomes crying again another week. And I just think for his health and all of the mental stuff he's got going on family-wise, they need a big win for Patrick Mahomes this week.
Dang, Christian.
He went there, man. Face of the league, though, you know. So, I mean, expect KC to, even if it is close, that some calls may be going their way. I know people say, like, the way the game plays out, but it's the Chiefs versus the Pats, and it's Patrick Mahomes, the face of the league. Like, if they're struggling at all, which I don't think they will, things will quickly turn, I think. to their benefit. So that's it for 1 o'clock window. We're already at the about 40-minute mark. So we got some 4 o'clock and the primetime games to get to. We'll try to burn through these pretty quickly and wrap up this episode. The first 4 o'clock game is the Washington Commanders taking on the LA Rams. Obviously, the Rams suffered that tough overtime loss against my Ravens last week. I think, albeit the loss given to them, they were one of the most impressive teams coming out of Week 14. I thought that offense has really established itself against a great defense as a special unit. I expect that to continue. Matt Stafford's playing really good quarterback right now, and I think he'll continue to do so. Rams will win at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams as well. The Rams offense has been clicking all year as long as Stafford, Kupp, and or Puka Nacua are out there. And this Washington Commanders defense has been piss poor, is a good way to put it, all year long, especially in coverage. So I'm going to go with the Rams here.
Yeah, I went with the Rams. Just what they have offensively, running back now, passing wise, is really clicking. We've seen what they did against Baltimore, and now you're telling me they're going to play the Washington defense. So I got the Rams by a lot.
Yep, all agreement there. Next up's the NFC West matchup. Another one that you would be absolutely shocked to see the home team pull out an upset. That's the Cardinals, who are battling the Pats for that number 1 pick, or I guess really the Bears, since the Panthers are going to be handing them the number 1 pick. But draft position on the line for these two teams. They don't need to upset either the Chiefs or the Niners in this one for the Cardinals. I don't think there's any chance the Cardinals pull this one off. Give me the Niners by a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Niners. So I don't got a whole lot to say about it either.
Yeah, 49ers by a lot.
Yep. Last 4 o'clock game, guys, is one of the tasty ones of the week. May not be the closest in record, but two really good teams. Cowboys coming off that impressive win on Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. They'll be traveling to the Bills to take on the 7-6 Buffalo squad, who come off that controversial win against the Chiefs last week. Buffalo obviously needs to gain more in terms of just making the playoffs outright in the AFC. Dallas, they need the game to stay in the NFC East race and first place in the division in that, and a first place in the conference as a whole, battling San Francisco. So I think Dallas knows that. They can't afford to drop any of these games if they want to win the division. That said, I think Dak will outplay Josh Allen in this one and just get more things done. So I'm going to take the Cowboys.
Yeah, I went with Dallas as well. I think that I've been saying it all year, but Josh Allen is asked to do too much for this offense, and they got this guy on Dallas. His name's Micah Parsons. Ain't no running away from that guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's a different breed out there. But I'm gonna go with Dallas. I think just an overall team effort here, and I do expect it to be close. So this Bills team has turned it on.
I went with actually the Buffalo Bills. I think they need this one a lot, and I think with Dallas maybe winning against the Eagles, they might be on maybe a high, you can say. So I think they're going to come in this game thinking, "Oh, we're the best now." Come in a little too hot, and I think that's when Buffalo is going to say, "Whoa, we're not the Eagles. We are a different team." And that's where I think Josh Allen and this James Cook, I talked about it a little bit in the last pod, but the connection they're getting later and later into the season has really been impressive. It seems since that new hire at the offensive coordinator spot, James Cook has really found another layer into this offense that he can be added to. And I just think, with that and Stephon Diggs, I understand their corners have played great in Dallas, but I expect Diggs to really keep this one for Buffalo to be able to pull up the upset.
I hear you on that. That's it for the 4 o'clock window then. The Sunday night game is going to be one of the better ones. Two AFC contenders. It'll be my Ravens sitting at 10-3. They will be traveling to Jacksonville to take on the 8-5 Jaguars, who have dropped 2 straight games. Still in first in the AFC South, so they're a game ahead of Houston, and they need to win one pretty soon to feel a little bit better about themselves. And tough matchup for them with my Ravens. But this is a game I honestly thought about going to when the schedule released. This was the closest road game to me to attend. Unfortunately, couldn't make it happen, but I will be watching intently, and I expect it to be every bit of a close contest. Jacksonville's very motivated to snap that losing streak, and knowing the Ravens could be riding a high off of that thrilling win in overtime last week, And then B, looking ahead to that Christmas matchup with the best team in football, perhaps the San Francisco 49ers. I think this has all the makings of a trap game. I think Trevor Lawrence could outplay Lamar in this one because he's that talented. I'm actually picking against my Ravens. I think it'll be a bit of an upset, and Jacksonville just desperately needs a win. And I think they're up for the challenge, and they'll get an impressive home win against a really good football team. Still love my Ravens, still pulling for them all the way, but for the second time this year, I'm picking against them. So give me the Jaguars at home.
Yeah, I was going to say Jacksonville needs a win real bad. I went with Jacksonville as well, and it doesn't have any, bad thing to do with Baltimore or anything like that. I just think that Jacksonville is a talented team and that they really need this one. They can't lose 3 straight. I mean, they could, and they can still sneak in at the playoffs, but I just think that Jacksonville is a talented team. I think Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. I think it can be a competitive game, and Baltimore's playing well all year, and they have been, but I am gonna go Jacksonville here.
No. Oh, I went with Baltimore. I think we all know this Jacksonville defense for at least the last couple of weeks have looked very not good to me. It just does not look great. I mean, we seen Ayuk last week had 2 touchdowns when there wasn't a soul near him. I mean, no one near him. So I think this Baltimore offense has a lot more to worry about than a Cleveland's offense. I think this Baltimore offense is going to get moving and moving quickly against this Jacksonville team. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is really 100%. I understand he came back from a ankle injury, but I just don't think he's 100%. With that being said, I'm taking Baltimore.
I'm letting it play because I think we lost some of Christian's audio. I think he may still be talking. I'm not sure. It sounded like he was finishing up, but I don't hear anything in my ear. Brian, it doesn't look like you hear anything, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up. With this matchup, I was pretty split 50-50. Honestly, I'm going to wait for the injury report to come out. I could flip my pick. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for the Ravens, but that's where my head sits. 2 really good football teams in the AFC, 2 of the better teams. I think it'll be a really good Sunday night football game. So as we get to the Monday night game, it's an NFC matchup between the 10-3 Eagles and the 6-7 Seattle Seahawks. Interesting matchup because the Eagles coming off a brutal loss against the Cowboys and the Seahawks coming off a loss against a great team in the 49ers as well. Seahawks need this win if they want to stick around in the NFC wildcard chase. I think they're a good football team. Just don't think they're enough. Although they need the win so bad, I don't think they're enough to overcome an Eagles team coming off a loss who need to win out if they want any chance of winning the division, let alone the 1 seed. So give me the Eagles to put together a really good performance and win this game.
I went with the Eagles. I feel like we've been pretty much tit for tat all week, this whole pick 'em. So I think the Eagles just have a complete roster. I expect them to come back with a little bit of a vengeance after a tough loss last week. I'm sure they're hearing the noise right now, but I still believe in them. Still think they're a good team. But I would look to see Jalen Hurts have a nice game here.
Yeah, I'm going Eagles. Keep it short just in case something crazy happens, but Eagles, Jalen Hurts, big bounce back.
I like it. And that's going to do it for our Week 15 game picks. We ran a little longer than we wanted to, but a lot now that every team is playing, there's 16 matchups to pick from. Obviously, just there's a lot to get in touch on and break down these matchups for you guys. So we thank you all for tuning in. As always, give us a follow on Twitter. I am at ChaseOwens96. Brian is at Sarver_Brian. Christian at C_Mills241. Please like, share, and subscribe all the TikToks as well as the Instagram page. Christian just got up and running. Please comment on there. Let us know what you're thinking on these posts and whether you disagree or agree with what the takes we're posting. Let us know on the TikToks and YouTubes, the comments as well as what your guys' takes are on each of these things we post. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe the podcast itself on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate and review. Send it to a friend. I know whoever's listening, you've got a football fan in your life that hasn't heard this podcast yet. Send it to them and let them determine if they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. Maybe it's not their cup of tea, but we offer a little something different, and we try to grow and just build this community throughout the season. So we thank you who have joined us, and we just hope to continue to do so with your support and your efforts to send this around. So thank you as always. Until next time, we will see you for the NFL Takes episode, which we're getting ready to record and release that for you on Friday morning, I believe. So thank you all for listening. Until next time, peace out.
Let's go, Jets.
Peace.